all of the adventures he has had over the years in managing so many boys year in and year out. So we will pick up where we left off of the stories from Renee. From the book, Did You Know They Are Raising Chickens on the Fourth Floor? This next one is entitled, Don't Ask, Don't Tell. One night, it was about 1 a.m. in the morning. So this is reading as Renee. I was coming out of Dykus Hall, headed back to my apartment, when I heard firecrackers go off by the girls' dorm. Temple Terrace, the town which Florida College is located in, had just put a ban on all fireworks because there had been a lot of injuries over the 4th of July. They wanted us to be strict with the boys. I waited by the dorm. All the boys came running back and were all caught red-handed. I told them they would all have to see the dean in the morning. As they came back in the dorm, they all hung their heads and said, "Sorry, Mr. Anderson." I looked at the list of guys who were involved, and every one of them were leaders at the school. They were presidents of several societies, student government leaders, and guys who were never in trouble. It was the end of the year, and they just had to let off some steam. Normally, it would not be a big deal, but because Temple Terrace had cracked down on fireworks, we had to do something. So they were all suspended from school for 1 day. One of them now works here. He doesn't like it when I threatened to tell the kids, "Did you know that Mr. So-and-so was suspended from school when he was a student here?" The names are left out to protect the innocent. There was a guy who was always with this group, who I didn't see on the list, but I knew he was involved. He happened to be related to us. I went to his room and I asked him if he was involved in the incident. He said, "Why do you have to come and ask me? You didn't catch me, and you know that I'm not going to lie to you, so just don't ask." I told him I had to ask. Did you do it?" He said yes. To this day, he still brings it up. He says, "You didn't catch me. Why did you just keep your mouth shut and not ask? I thought that we were family." All the boys were suspended for 1 day and reinstated. The boy related to us called his mom from our apartment to tell her he was suspended from school. She started to get upset, but he said that it was okay because all the guys who were suspended were good guys and everything was all right. It is still a sore subject at family get-togethers. All right, continuing our theme of pranks. Another favorite prank is to tie a piece of fishing line to the clapper of the chapel bell. Dykus Hall was very close to the bell, so it wasn't hard to run a string to the top of run a string to one of the top rooms at the end of Dykus, where no one could see it. I remember it being fishing line. Then at 2 or 3 in the morning, a student would pull it and let the string go, and no one would know who did it. One night, some of the boys were in our apartment, and the chapel bell started clanging, followed by a big explosion and the power going off in the dorms. A few seconds later, it came back on. I didn't know what happened, so I went to take a look. I could see the end of the wire coming out of the end room in Dykus. I went to that room, and one of the boys was in the top bunk with all the covers all around him. I asked if he was all right. He nodded yes. I asked what happened. He said, I wanted to ring the bell from his room, but didn't have any fishing line. So he used speaker wire. The speaker wire broke, fell across the transformer, and shorted it out. The explosion caused the wire to fall off. Then the transformer reset itself, and the power came back. I asked if he had gotten shocked when it happened. He said the speaker wire was too short to reach his window, so he had to tie a piece of rope to the end of it. He was not actually touching the wire when it sparked, just the rope. I don't know what would have happened if he had been touching the wire, but I'm sure glad he wasn't. I think the shock of it all was enough to keep him from doing it again. But I stand to the dean anyway. Sometimes it's a miracle these boys ever survive at all. In the old dorms, the circuits were always tripping, and I would have to reset them. The power once went out on the whole floor, so I went to see what happened. It was C-dorm, and the breaker box was in the middle suite. I went into the suite, and there was a boy lying on the floor. I asked him, what happened to him? And he said that he took an extension cord, cut the end off, stripped the wires back, and was going to wire it to the doorknob. Then plug it in. That way, when someone tried to come into their room, it would shock them and be really funny. I asked, why are you laying on the floor? He said he decided to try it out first. He felt like that would be a good idea. He hooked it up to the doorknob, plugged it in, and touched the doorknob. No! It blew the power out, and the jolt threw him across the room. I told him how lucky he was on the inside of the building. If someone had touched it on the outside, it would have thrown him back and probably fallen over the balcony. You're on the 3rd floor. What were you thinking? All right. This will be the last one. So my first year at FC was Dee and Renee's first year in the dorm. And this story is from those very first days. I was not involved, but there are multiple families represented here that their dads were involved in this story. You know who you are. On one of the first nights of the school year, our first year here, I got a call from some of the boys saying, the boys in the next suite are making too much noise. Before I could get up to check, I get a call from the guys on the other side saying the same thing. It wasn't late, and classes hadn't even started yet. This is his very first few days there. I didn't think guys would be complaining about stuff like this so early in the evening. I knew it must be some sort of prank on me, or a test to see how I would react to a different situation since I was the new guy. When I got to the suite, I opened the door, and there was a big stuffed bull's head hanging on the wall, with flowers around it and candles burning on an altar below. All 8 boys in that suite were bowed down in front of the cat, completely naked, and chanting. I thought, how am I going to handle this situation? I could get mad and yell at them for being stupid, but I knew that was what they were expecting. So I went into the suite, picked up all the candles burning around the cow's head, and said, it's against our regulations to have an open flame in the dorm. I took the candles, told them to quiet down, and I left without saying anything else. The next day, I saw all the guys who were involved. They asked why I didn't say anything about what was going on in the suite. I told them we wanted everybody here to be a Christian, but it was a free country. And if they wanted to take off their clothes and worship a golden calf in the privacy of their suite, there wasn't anything I could do about it. This past year, one of the boys who was involved in this story came by with his son to tour the dorms. His son might be coming here in a few years. When he came in, he asked if I recognized him. And I told him to pull down his pants and bow down to the floor, and I would see if I remembered him. He put his head down, and I asked if his son knew the story. He said that unfortunately he does. It's all